Chief Whip, and my very esteemed and several of my colleagues here today, several chairmen of relevant committees and members of relevant committees, our guests, the UN and EU delegation under the Spotlight Initiative, you're very welcome to the House of Representatives. Let me first of all start by apologizing that I came in a little bit late. I was held back and time just ran away from me. So I apologize for that. Let me say from Jump Street that the well-being of a woman, I have always believed, is the well-being of a nation. We cannot underplay the importance of women in any society or in any nation. This is why we have taken in the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, particularly the issue of gender-based violence as perhaps one of the more serious issues that we're facing and confronting head-on in the Ninth Assembly. Incidentally, on Saturday, a couple of days from now, we will be launching, unfolding our new legislative agenda post-COVID. We had a legislative agenda that we launched last year, but because of the advent of COVID, we have had to update and revise. And I'm featuring prominently in that agenda is this issue. So you're welcome to attend at the Congress Hall at the Hilton on Saturday, 9 o'clock, if you have the chance to be available. The way I personally, and I've said this over and over again, for us to achieve maximum result in terms of eradication of this problem, I think we should look at it perhaps almost even scientifically. One, I've often defined it as a pandemic. And I define it as such, or I compare it, or say it's a pandemic because of the very definition of what a pandemic is. A pandemic is a disease that ravages the whole world. Let's just put it in straight terms. The issue of sexual-based violence, or rape, if you want to be more specific, is something that is permeated. It's not isolated to Nigeria. But we're in Nigeria now, want to deal with it in Nigeria. But it's world over, number one. Number two, a lot of it is based, I believe, has to do with your mental state. So if we accept these two notions, that one, it's a pandemic, and we should deal with it as such, the same way we're dealing with the coronavirus right now, the way we're giving it a frontal attack, we're going to get somewhere. Two, if we accept the fact that many of these guys, for want of a better word, that are involved in sexual-based violence and rape are probably not all there mentally. That's why I said scientifically. Then we'll also be looking at other measures to deal with the problem. Does it have to be all punitive? Or does it have to be curative? Do we cure the problem where you have situations where, because if you have somebody who is, even saying it, turns my stomach, who rapes a 3-year-old or a 3-month-old, he obviously cannot be all there. So sending him to jail does not even cure the problem, if it's a mental problem. There are those who basically are just perhaps perverted one way or the other. But there are those who also have what you call in legal terms depraved minds, and that's a mental illness. While she may be physically present, she's actually, for all intents and purposes, dead. So we're giving it all the seriousness. So you can even consider it at the level of murder. And that's how far I want to stretch it. Because if you do not give something, you can call it dramatic, you can call it whatever it is, but if you don't give it that seriousness, the same seriousness as you give first degree murder, because if you're taking somebody's life away, it's not just necessarily physically. You can take somebody's life away emotionally. And if we don't deal with it in that, from that prism, we might just be scratching the surface, the problem on the surface. So that's how we have taken it in the House of Representatives. We devoted a whole day to debating this problem, and our members went as far. They were far-reaching proposals. And that's how just to emphasize how serious we took it. People talked about genital mutilation or castration. People talked about life imprisonment. People talked about death sentence because of the gravity with which we see this problem. But in doing that, we must also identify that in places like Nigeria, there are socio-cultural and structural problems that we must also handle very carefully. Some it's cultural, some it's religious, some it's structural. But sometimes I've said oftentimes that those barriers are there, but I also believe that we can break down those barriers. Because no matter your religion, no matter your culture, there's some things that are universal. There are lines you just don't cross. There's no religion that will tell you that you can take advantage sexually or abuse a 3-year-old or a 10-year-old. There's no culture, there's no religion. So let's begin from there, and then we begin to pluck away bit by bit. You talked about the Senate bill. I can assure you that even though the House is going away on Thursday, tomorrow, for our long vacation, as soon as we come back, I will call for the transmission of the Senate bill. We'll look at it, probably and hopefully concur without adjustment. If we can even stiffen whatever is in there, we will do that. But we can be assured that the House of Representatives will very speedily concur with that bill upon resumption. Of course, the issue of funding. There's no way you can, like I said, it's a pandemic. We're dealing with coronavirus, we're dealing with a lot of money. And there's no way you can confront a disease such as this without funding. And hopefully in September, towards the end of September, I believe that the executive will send the budget to the National Assembly. And this is a one-line item that we will all be looking out for. I will make sure that you can be sure that the women here will look at that budget with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that proper, adequate funding is for this particular issue is part of the budget. The women have been very, very proactive on the floor of the House, but I did something very interesting when we had that debate. I more or less shut them out of the debate. They all wanted to contribute. But I didn't want to make, and I say this again with all seriousness here, I don't want, and I'm glad that lots of men here with you, I don't want this debate to be about women. even though it's gender focused. I don't want it to be about women. I want it, and I've said it over and over again, and that's why during the debate, I made sure it was the men that advanced the points. Let the men fight that fight and fight your cause for you. It becomes something that we will all own and take ownership of. That this is something. It's about women, but it's not about women. It's about humanity. It's about humanity, and that's the way we intend to approach it. On the issue of domestication of the violence against persons, the 2015 Act and the Child Rights Act of 2003. My office has done quite a bit to sensitize the states. We had a conference with all the speakers about a month ago, thereabouts. And a lot of work is going on in that regard. The chairman of the conference of the speakers of the Northeast is from Bauchi State, I think, Abubakar. He did promise at that conference that they will domesticate it in the act in Bauchi, and I'm glad to report that.